Hi there, this video is about equivalent ratios. So if you haven't checked out the video I've done about my introduction to ratios, please make sure you take a look at that first before you do this because you'll have to know what ratios are before I can talk to you about equivalent ratios. So equivalent ratios are different ratios that represent the same comparison between two or more groups. Here is a couple of examples of what I mean. We have this ratio, which is 1 to 4, is equal to this ratio 2 to 8. Now, just like equivalent fractions, in order to figure out an equivalent ratio to 1 to 4, you have to either multiply or divide the terms here to get to this equivalent fraction or equivalent ratio. So for instance here, 1 to 4, if you multiply the 1 by 2, that's going to give you 2. And if you multiply 4 by 2, that gives you 8. And that's how you know that this is an equivalent ratio. Here's another example right here. I have 9 to 3 is equal to 3 to 1. So in this case, I didn't multiply, I divided 9 by 3 to get 3, and then 3 by 3 to get 1. And like I mentioned, each term of the ratio is multiplied or divided by the same number. So that is what makes it equivalent. If you do not multiply both terms by the same number or divide both terms by the same number, then it's not an equivalent ratio, just like equivalent fractions. I'm going to erase this here and show you some examples of questions involving equivalent ratios. So here I have two examples of questions that involve equivalent ratios. Just like equivalent fractions, we've got to take a look at the relationship between one ratio to another. This example here is 24 to 6 is equal to some other value or number to 1. So we're going to take a look at the red numbers here, 6 and 1, and use that to figure out if we're going to be multiplying or dividing these numbers to figure out the equivalent ratio. So if we're looking at the 6 and the 1, do we divide 6 by a number or do we multiply? Well, to get from 6 to 1, we know that we should divide because it's a lower number to go from 6 to 1. So we're dividing, and we're going to divide by 6 because we know 6 divided by 6 gives us 1. And we already know from earlier that what you do with one value or one term, you have to do with the other. So the 24 here, we're also going to be dividing by 6. And if we divide 24 by 6, that is going to give us 4. So our equivalent ratio in that case is 24 to 6 is equal to 4 to 1. And down over here, we have 5 to 6 is equal to 25 to some term, some value. Again, we got to take a look. Is it multiplying or dividing? We have 5 and 25, the blue numbers here. We could compare those two to see if we need to multiply or divide. 25 is a greater number than 5, so we already know that we're going to be multiplying. And to multiply 5 by 5, that's going to give us 25. So since we're multiplying this value, this term here, this value here is also going to be multiplied by the same amount, the same number, which in this case is 5. So 6 multiplied by 5 is going to give us 30. So the equivalent ratio for this question is 25 to 30.